every Tuesday for the last 20 Tuesdays, Nice Gaming and I have been having our Voices of Verra podcast where we discuss all things MMO and Ashes of Creation related. We discuss the latest live streams, we discuss upcoming live streams, and we also venture onto the forums. We either go onto the Ashes of Creation forums, we go on the Reddit forums, and read different conversations that other players that are looking forward to the game that we're looking forward to. We want to look and see what they have to say. It's a way of just having a conversation about a game that we're all very, very excited about because, frankly, it doesn't exist yet. That doesn't come out, and Alpha 2 doesn't come out until 2024. So all we have is fun conversation. So what that means is for the last 20 Tuesdays, I have been researching and reading the forums and reading different discussions for conversations on our Voices of Verra podcast, and I keep seeing the same underlying discussions from month to month. And instead of having those same conversations over and over again, I thought it would be good to just have a free-form video to provide my point of view. Now, does this mean that I'm right and they're wrong or anything like that? No. Absolutely not. Like, some of it is people are uninformed. They're uninformed about how certain systems work, and I'll try to highlight some of that in this video. Yeah, that's what this video is going to be. I'm going to talk about the three big things that I keep seeing. Number one, big guilds. I can't tell you how many different articles I've seen where people talk about big guilds zerging down and dominating the map when Asmongold comes on, and Asmongold's guild is going to conquer Verra, and there's going to be nothing nobody else will be able to do. These sorts of things. I've seen this so often talking about big guilds. Number two, PK accounts. PK accounts going out and griefing and killing and just demeaning smaller players over and over and over again, basically just making their life miserable because they can, because that's how other PK systems have worked, and players are incentivized to do this because it exists in the game and there's no downside. That's the argument that I've seen. I will argue that there is. And then finally, the amalgamation of both of these things, guys, combining big guilds that also PK. So these big 200, 300 person guilds that just roam around PKing everybody in sight, just destroying everything just because they can. And so this is the nightmare that multiple players, these are the three nightmares that multiple players will discuss on the forums over and over again. And we're going to talk about that in this video today. So without further bullshitting, let's dive into it. So, as you guys see in the background, I am riding on my mount in New World. Now, the reason I'm bringing up New World is at the launch of New World, the map size is roughly 40 square kilometers. And so I wanted to show you guys the size of the map from riding on horseback from the southern end to the northern end, just so you guys can kind of get a gauge of how big this map is. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is there is no fast travel in Ashes of Creation. Unless you have two scientific nodes that are of a max level, I'm pretty sure it's level 5. It could be level 4. Regardless, you can only travel from one scientific node to the other, and not every node in Verra will be scientific related, and so there just won't be many fast travel points. So these big guilds will have to ride on foot from one area to another, either on foot or on horseback or by sea on a boat. They will not be able to fast travel. So all these concerns of big guilds bringing in 200 people to an area the minute you try to start a fight, and then all of a sudden zipping down to another area at the southern end of the map, it's just not going to happen. Now, like I said, New World's map is about 40 square kilometers at release. At release for Ashes of Creation, it will be 1,200 kilometers, roughly 30 times the size of New World's map. You see how long this video is? It took me 25 minutes to ride from the southern end to the northern end on horseback. Now, obviously, mount speed could be faster in Ashes of Creation, but this gives you an idea of a map 30 times the size, how vast it is with no fast travel points, how hard it will be for a 200 person guild with a server size of 8 to 10,000 to actually be able to conquer anything. The other thing to take into account with these large guilds and these large guilds on this server this size is Intrepid want to try to incentivize people to open up trade routes, to open up caravan routes, to do these sorts of things so that you can progress your node. In Ashes of Creation, your node is essentially it's your village or your city. You want to progress it, you want to improve it, because the higher your node is, the more you will progress your character and your area. And obviously in MMOs, progression is the name of the game. A lot of people will want to progress their node because they will want to advance their character. They will want to get the new best weapons. They will want to get the new experience in order to upgrade their blacksmithing or whatever they're trying to do. And so those things will become more readily available as you upgrade your node. And so obviously nodes will have they will conflict with one another, but also you will not be able to just stay in your own individual node bubble and harvest the resources in that area. Stephen Shreve has said on podcast or on live streams in the past that in order to advance your node, you will need to potentially go open up trade. Like if you're a southern node, you will need to open up trades with northern nodes because they will have access to resources more plentiful than you will. And so either opening up trade or riding up there, farming it yourself and risking the potential chance of having a node fight back at you are things that can happen. And so the point is if you see a bunch of people conflicting over one specific area, 200, 400, 500, 1,000 people, that means that there's all these other areas with resources available for progression that other people have access to that aren't being competed over. And so if you like competition and if you like PvP and if you like these sorts of things, of course you are going to want to go to these 200, 500, 1,000 group areas. That's where I will probably be trying to find these types of fights because that will be fun. But if you are those types of people that you want to experience the game, but you don't want that much combat, you don't have to be in those areas in order to compete. You can take your guild, you can take your group, you could probably progress faster, more quietly, because there will just be less competition in that specific area. And you will have access to resources that other areas will not, and you could potentially open up trade routes and expand and progress your node faster than other areas. So the resource system that is potentially set in place that we don't know about, but what they've said they're trying to do exists in a way to help people spread out. No fast travel helps people not dominate an entire large map. And so these sorts of things are going to just more or less solve themselves. And so the map size on Verra is you're going to have 8,000 to 10,000 concurrent players. 8 to 10,000. New World's map size is 2,000. So for a 30 times map size, you have 4 to 5 times the amount of players. It is just going to be way more spread out. It's going to be a lot less population dense. And as you see me riding north in New World, you can see how many people I run across. That's so many less people you're going to run across in Ashes of Creation if you don't want to. It is going to be a very large, extensive map. It's localized around nodes and hubs and these sorts of things. And so, yeah, if you don't want to be PK'd, there's going to be lots of areas around where you will not be PK'd. Now, on to the next one. PK groups. I see this brought up all the time. I see players PKing for the sake of PKing. The argument that I've seen is players just want to be red. The more red their character gets, the better it's going to be, and that's why Ashes of Creation is not going to succeed. If you guys go and read the Ashes of Creation wiki, it specifically states that the more you kill green players, the more corrupt you become, the less combat effective your character becomes. And so if you want to be the reddest, most corrupt Ashes of Creation player, you will be less and less combat effective, to a point to where if you incur too much corruption, you will no longer be able to fight back. Now, the other thing, and I definitely recommend going and reading the Ashes of Creation corruption chart and everything, but a thing that a lot of people forget they don't think about or they don't really recognize in the chart is once a player is corrupted, green players can attack them at will. So let's put myself in a hypothetical scenario, right? Like I'm a level 10 green player. I'm farming. I'm trying to progress my character. I started late on a server, whatever. And I have this max level character that comes to attack me. So he attacks me. He flags purple, right? Now I could choose to fight back or I can choose to not fight back. Those are my choices. If I fight back, we both flag purple. If I flag purple, he takes a lot less resources from me than if I just stay green. But if I decide not to fight back, I make him go corrupt because it wasn't a willing duel. He killed me without me wanting to fight back. He is now red. Now, when I die and I respawn back up, if I want to attack him now, I do not flag anymore as a purple combatant. I am now still green and he is corrupt. So now I can go after him. And because this high-end max level character decided to kill a low level 10, I can continue to go after him over and over and over again and make him lose his combat efficacy. And if I lose 3, 4, 5 times in a row, however long it takes, eventually he will not be able to fight to the same level that I will be able to fight. And high level corrupt players have a chance of dropping gear. And so as long as I'm boneheaded, as long as I keep going back and I keep going back for more, I can potentially take high level characters' gear because they decided to flag against me, and there's nothing they can really do about it unless they don't want to fight back, they run away, or they spend time working off the corruption that they did by grinding experience. And so there's all these sorts of things in place that are designed to help protect smaller players. So I'm sure that at some point this will happen where you will see a corrupt player on the map and 4 or 5 of you will be low-level greens and you're like, hey, if we kill this guy, one of us might get really good loot. And it incurs no cost. I mean, unless you're carrying a ton of resources, put them in a bank and then go hunt that guy down. And so there will be extreme costs for corrupted players. There is a bounty system in place to go after these corrupted players. On top of all of this, there's also incentivized PvP. There's caravan-based PvP, there's castle-based PvP, there's guild wars where guilds can flag other guilds hostile. And then there you have the entire ocean where it is always on PvP all of the time. And because 2/3 of the map is water, I am of the belief that Steven Shreve and Intrepid are going to make the corruption system very, very harsh for players that want to do it. Will it be able for them to do? Absolutely. But it will incur a substantial penalty because they have open forms of PvP in all these other places. They're going to incentivize that. Now, on top of all of that, on top of all of those things, Steven himself has come out and said, hey, if you're killing the same person over and over again and you're griefing them and you're somehow bypassing the corruption system because you're using some sort of mechanic, whatever, just to kill the same people, that goes against our terms of service. That goes against Ashes of Creation's terms of service, and you can be banned for doing those sorts of things. So Ashes of Creation in general, even with the corruption system designed, even if there are loopholes, there are still things set in place to stop people from PKing and bullying the same accounts over and over and over again. And so once we get to Alpha 2, we will be able to test the corrupt Alpha 2 testers will be able to test the corruption system. This is something I will be testing quite extensively myself because I love the idea of it. I love the aspect of having it, but I also want the penalties to be harsh. I want there to be risk involved in order for, if players want to go corrupt to kill players, I want them to incur a substantial penalty for doing it. It's also better than not having it because, as you guys all know, we've all played PvE area MMOs. There's just as much griefing in PvE areas as there is in PvP. The only difference is in PvE, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to deal with somebody either pulling bosses on top of you or taking resources right in front of you and leaving certain things that you didn't like and basically wasting your time and just it overall being annoying. Whereas if you had this sort of PK system, you could eliminate those annoying players from the area if you chose to. And so it doesn't happen all the time, but having that option in place will limit people from being dicks. And so I think that is an important thing. Now, as far as PK guilds go, substantial, huge PK guilds that run around the map. Oh, if they're red, then, just their friend will kill them and they'll send their resources back. Yeah, possibly. You could have 200 to 300 people on a map. These guilds of 200 people could roam freely and they could run around and kill people to their heart's content. But the thing is these nodes are going to want to progress, right? These nodes are going to want to improve and progress in their area. They're going to want to level up. And if all these nodes are dealing with the exact same 200 person group, there's 8,000 to 10,000 people on the map. people will do something about it. I know this type of freedom isn't something that usually exists in MMOs, and I totally understand that perspective. I understand where people are coming from, where they think that there's nothing people are going to do, but they will. And the reason I know this is because I played a sandbox style PvP game where it was, you could toggle, you could choose to set people hostile. It was always on PvP all the time. And my specific guild in this game used to fight, and we used to basically attack anybody and everybody because we'd want to have fights. That's how we wanted to play the game. Now, after a while, basically people would stop fighting back because they were scared of us. We would dominate the map, we would dominate everything, and it was always the same cycle. People would be scared to fight back at us. They wouldn't want to fight us. They wouldn't want to do anything. We would go through this lull moment, but in the background, all these other alliances were talking quietly with each other about, hey, we want to take these guys out. We want to take these guys down. What do we do? And so what they would do is they would take their lower level PvP players. They would put them in a guild where they were protected, where they wouldn't get flagged. They would put their best PvP players in these guilds, and then in these top level guilds, and then they would go and set us hostile for war. And so their best PvP players spread across 5 or 6 different guilds would all be in 2 or 3 guilds to fight the one of us. And so if you have this big PK guild, and it definitely can happen, and it probably will happen, you will have groups that will go, hey, I want to progress my node. I want to progress my scientific node. We all want to do this. This guild's getting in our way. Let's find other people to work with us. And all the nodes in the area are going to want the exact same thing. Fuck those guys. We're going to take them out. And I don't have to like this is what I've seen. This is stuff that I've seen happen. And so you will have some players that will go, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to get involved in this. But if they have a chance of winning, like if those 200 have to fight 1,000 and you're now part of 1,000, you're a lot more inclined to fight against them than if it was like 50 of you, right? Because you have the numbers, and you can dish out punishment to them. And so you can incur these sorts of armor penalties by killing them and wearing them down and making them cost resources to repair things and these sorts of things. And also, because they're in these guilds, because they're in this big guild, and because they are bullying all the nodes in the area, people are going to be less inclined to work with them. And so if a new trade of armor comes out and there's only a few master crafters and that guild doesn't have any, they're not going to have access to the master crafters. They're not going to have access to this new upgraded armor, and so they're going to be put behind. And this is the risk you take by being in these big PK guilds. I'm not saying it's not going to be fun. I'm not saying it's not going to be a good time or anything like that, but it really could hinder your progression based off of what is going on in the area around you. So all this is obviously open for interpretation. This is what we have for a discussion. But I wanted to talk to you guys about it in a video because I keep seeing it so much. I keep seeing these conversations, and I think a lot of it is people are excited about Ashes of Creation. They see the occasional live stream. They're very excited for the live stream. But then when they get to the thought of having a few of these things, they're a little worried. A little worried would be the way to go about doing it. And so hopefully I eased some of your concerns. Hopefully I eased some of your worries about this. And yeah, I'm going to end this video here. We already are 19 minutes in. We have so much more map writing to do in New World. But yeah, as you guys can see, it is going to be an extensive map. And I think a lot of these issues are overblown. And even if they are not, we're still pre-Alpha 2 testing. There's going to be a lot of time left to work and improve upon these things. And I will be the first person to come forward and say if I think corruption is not harsh enough. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide them in the comments below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.